Alrighty. Let's see. Let me drink my chocolate milk. Cool. Who is here for good programming? Alrighty. Alrighty. So what do we do now? What do we do today? Oh yeah. Let me actually, do I still have this? No, I don't have that, right? Let me just do one thing, just so I can focus on today. So let's just say here to do. I'm gonna go to git ignore. I'm actually gonna add this to do in there. Then I'll just do come here and I just say tip tap image upload. What else did I have in the front end there? Let me take a look at that. Tip tap. What did we have? We have suggestions mentioned. We did that. We did this component. So we have image upload, I guess. We had the link thing, right, etc. So we'll need to. Okay, so we need to essentially re-implement the link, the image upload. Yeah, exactly right. Okay, cool. And then if I go to our components, and then where was that? Wasn't there like an image thing somewhere? Tip tap HTML components, mention suggestions, toolbar. Yeah, toolbar components, upload image dialog. Yeah, so this we need to finalize. And dialogues, upload image dialog. Let me see, what is this? Leo, my friend, good evening. I'm very good, my dude. How are you? How are you, buddy? All right, so what I'm actually gonna do, I'm gonna move this fella to this level here. And then we can maybe learn together this new dialogue there was. So what's wrong with this music? What's wrong with this one, Leo? Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's not, but it doesn't have to be always, right? Does it? Image input. You're good as well. Good to hear, my friend. Good to hear. We're gonna continue today with basically with the tip tap. I was actually super excited to finish work today, to get back to this, to be very frank with you. So we have this drop zone. Yeah, I actually remembered this thing. I remember this thing, yeah. Image input. Nice, man. Very happy to hear that. Very happy to hear that, dude. Let me just see what we've done. So accept and change on file loaded, I guess. That's how we, I guess, change this to be. Oh, never mind. Yeah, but I don't think we haven't changed in type file. Okay, good, great, great. Okay, so basically today we're going to continue with TipTap, and this is also, I really, as I said, couldn't wait to get back to this. And so we're more or less done. I did some work last night off stream because I was very excited to get some work done there. Things are working really awesomely. We'll need to change the icons. That's just a detail. We need to, yeah, I want to re-implement the image upload and the link. And then after all of this is done, in one of the next streams, we're going to build our own custom TipTap thing, which we're going to actually open source. And I think it's going to be a super good thing to open source because I think it's one of the extensions that a lot of people would want to use. And that's going to be, yeah, I don't know how to name it for now. So anyway, today we're going to focus on this and this, right? That's what we're going to focus on this stream. Hopefully we can finish soon because we do have the implementation of that already, but let's see. So we have this thing. I'm actually going to write a story for this as well. So I'm going to actually grab this file. I'm going to copy paste it into the image upload here. And I'm going to say here, and I don't know if this should be here. We'll see. We'll see. So I'm going to say image upload stories because, yeah, we might actually be able to reuse this component for other things as well, right? And yeah, I'm going to just, yeah, just clear a bunch of this crap. I'm going to say rich text editing, TipTap, image upload. And then here I'm going to say image upload. Actually, how did I name this export here? So it's supposed to, so let's say here image upload. That's a terrible name, so we'll probably need to change that to something better, but for now let's keep it. Oops. So I'll go back here, we're gonna do this, we're gonna import it from there, we're gonna get rid of this pretty much, right? Then we're gonna get rid of all of this, all of the other shit, right? And then, yeah, we'll simply render it here like this, right? Let's see now what happens. Yep. TipTap, yeah, shit. TipTap image upload, yeah, so it's this dialog here, right? So this is basically, so this is gonna be in a modal, so when you click on an image upload, you're gonna get this modal. So this is kind of a modal, right? And then I guess this is the button, right? This was, so let's kind of design this a little bit. What is this? It's our front end, right? Yeah. Image input. Image input. Where the fuck is that? Oh, here. So I guess we're missing some sort of a label or something, right? Yeah. Click to upload the PNG image. Or select file. Yeah, that kind of sucks ass. Wait a minute. Image input. Yeah, I don't like how this looks like, but it's okay, I guess. Or select the file, yeah. Yeah, that's I guess fine. Or select a file, right? Let me actually reset this thing. This is 200% now. Click or select a file, yeah. Yeah, I don't actually like how the button fits this crap. Now wait a minute. So let me just zoom into Oblivion just so we can see a little bit better when designing this or when coding it, right? I mean, we could technically change the border color. Border primary text color. We could change that. Where's the shit? Border primary. Yeah, right. Yeah, something like that, right? I just wish that, let's actually go to this component of ours, right? And if I go to the button over here, I guess I could technically just say here, shadow none, right? Yeah, exactly. I think the shadow now should be gone. Let's see. Let's take a look at that. Computed shadow. Box shadow. Give me 1 second. Because Leo asked for it. Let's just do a bit of this, right? Just for you, Leo. Just a little bit. Box shadow. So I guess that's okay now, right? Storm, good evening, buddy. Or select a file. Well, I mean, actually, is this button really necessary then? Because let's take a look at this. Because fundamentally, it seems that, how am I triggering this? HTML4, okay. So I guess, yeah, I'm just... Yeah, exactly, but I don't think it's going to trigger the file upload then, right? Because it's triggering it. So the only thing I could basically do is I could basically hide this thing, right? We would need to kind of hide this, right? But then I don't think it's removed. Yeah, so something like this, right? Luminex, my friend, good evening. Yeah, so something like this, right? I guess. Yep. Something like that, okay. And now the problem is that all the errors and stuff wouldn't be actually visible, right? So that is the issue, right? All right, so let's leave that for a second. So let's take a look at this new dialogue thing that came out, right? I wanted to actually take a look at this for a long time. We can see it's fairly new. It seems to be supported baseline 2022. So the dialogue HTML element represents a modal or non-modal dialog box or other interactive components, such as the admissible alert, inspector, or sub window. The HTML dialog element is used to create both modal and non-modal dialog box. Okay, I mean, let's instantly start, right? I'm super excited to learn about this new element, right? So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to go here in our Yale, right, as always, and I'm going to create a new component called dialog, right? And we're going to reuse this in Programmer Network as well. So I'm going to say dialog tsx, right? And I'm going to say, you know, dialog.stories.tsx, obviously, right? Let's already create something. So I'm going to say const dialog. And yeah, let's export default dialog, right? And let's let me grab a story from something else. So image upload story. So let's grab this. Let's do this. Let's say here, you know, dialog, right? And let's just say here components, I guess, or core dialog. And we should have a hopefully I'm exporting stuff. I am, okay? And yeah, we need to return something. So let's use this new dialog thing, right? All right, so if we go now to that story, here it is. I guess we will see nothing, right? Yeah, exactly, right. So let's see now, let's learn now about it. The HTML dialog element is used to create both modal and non-modal. Okay, we read that. JavaScript should be used to display the dialog element. Use show modal method to display modal dialog and the show method to display a non-modal dialog. The dialog box can be closed using close method or using the dialog method, blah, blah, blah. All right, so well, so this thing seems to be taking some default elements, right? So let's see. So it has close, it has show, right? So let's see. So how the hell do we use it? HTML form element can be used to close a dialog box, but okay, we don't care about these details. Yeah, here it is, open. Okay, so I can give it this open thing, right? And then if we get over here, actually I don't see it anywhere. Maybe is it because of the zoom level? Oh, here it is, the dialog. This is a dialog. Okay. Okay, let me just do something with the story because it's centering it now, so it's a little bit annoying. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to put this dialog in another div, and I'm going to just offset this a little bit. So I'm going to say margin 14 or whatever, right? So yeah, so we can see the dialog is now opened, right? If we go here and we say open, I guess false, right? Yeah, it should be closed. So that's super. That's awesome, man, right? That's great. So let's start writing some code for it. So const well, is open, right? Set is open, whatever. And this is technically, I guess, gonna have to come from the outside, right? So this let's start basically. Let's say here FC, right? We're gonna have interface I dialog props, right? Then we're gonna have is open boolean yeah, let's start from there. Let's start from there, yeah. So now we're gonna have this is open, right? And then open is open, right? So let's start there. Let's go to our story now, and this is a mandatory prop, obviously. So let's say here const is open, yeah. Let's have a button somewhere that triggers it, right? So I'm gonna have another div or whatever, and here I'm gonna use our own button. Let's actually import that, and I'm gonna say here on click set is open, right? And then whatever the current is open state is, right? All right, cool. So here's our dialog. Now let's just toggle dialog. All right, cool, amazing. So that's good. What else do we have? So okay, this is pretty awesome, right? They have a form with the method dialog, so they basically extended the default attributes of a form HTML tag, right? So that's awesome, but we don't care about that. Okay, but let's read this. The example demonstrates to create a non-modal dialog by using only HTML. Because of the boolean open attribute to dialog element, the dialog appears open when the page loads. The dialog can be closed by clicking OK button. Play one game, my friend. Good evening. Result. All right, let's go. What happened here? Okay. Creating a modal dialog. This example demonstrates a modal dialog with a gradient backdrop. The show modal method opens the modal dialog when show dialog button is activated. The dialog can be closed by pressing the escape key or via the closes. Okay, this is kind of what we need, right? Here's my favorite streamer, right? All right, so let's see what this does. Nice, man. This is what we need. Beautiful. So nice. So there's this new backdrop. It seems there's this new backdrop CSS property, right? So let's grab this file. I don't know if did the Tailwind introduce backdrop already. Were those backdrop blur? Yeah, they did already introduce it, right? Backdrop blur S. All right, we'll see about that in a moment, right? But let's for now, let's create a CSS file inside of our dialog here. We're gonna paste this file over here, and we're gonna say import style CSS, right? This is a little bit weird. Well, let me just try one thing, 1 second. That's a bit strange. Ah. Give me 1 second, I just want to try something. Yeah, I'm trying out this new dialogue. Exactly, right? That's what we're trying out. Well, we're not trying it, we're making it. I want to use this as a native dialogue, right? It's just based on their example. Let me see, because they do have this. But they're doing this programmatically, right? Like this. Okay, so let's learn about it together, right? Because what they basically do, they get a reference to the actual right. So they have the query selector, they get the dialog, right? And then they're using show modal, right? I think this is also what we need technically, right? So in our case, I suppose, right, we need to do something like this, const ref, right? Something like this, right? Then we have to say ref is equal to ref, right? And then we do have to do the same here, right? So we have to say handle close, right? And then close, right? Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's all we have to do in that context, right? Yeah. I need to go to, what is that? Okay, and how do we basically, give me 2 seconds, I'm checking it out. So wait, so we have this, you have to come back, man. If you go now, you have to come back. I need to drink my chocolate milk. So I guess this ref has to be external, right? This needs to be a forward ref, right? I think we have the forward, right? This needs to be the forward ref, right? I think so. I think so, at least. So this has to be something like this, right? Forward ref, right? Then this fella has to be basically a named function. Let's just say function dialog, right? That takes the props and the actual ref that we are forwarding, right? Give me 1 second. What would be the actual type for this? Let's just say any for a second, right? All right, cool, right? So then that thing is kind of fine for now, I suppose, right? Shit. So this is then fine, right? Yeah, right. Let's just do it. Yeah, exactly. That's great. Okay. And then if we go to our storybook, I suppose somewhere over here we want to do this, right? So here I want to say essentially const dialog ref, right? Yeah, right, exactly. Something like this, I suppose. Then something like that, right? I mean, this, we're using basically this new thing, right? This new HTML dialog element, right? So let's see if I'm doing this properly. There we go. Actually, we are doing it properly. Amazing. Super. And then technically, if inside of a dialog we would implement some sort of a close or whatever, let's imagine this was an icon here that says, let's imagine it was literally close dialog, right? Because we're just playing with it now. Basically here now we can just say, hey, ref dot, ref dot current dot close. Something like this, right? And there we go. Okay, cool. All right, so we've kind of learned that, and that's awesome, and we will definitely use this, right? Because we no longer have to do like, this is now built in the browser. How amazing that is, right? That's super, super cool. Super cool, right? Super cool, man. That is amazing. Okay, great. That's super. So that's more or less all that there is to it, right? Handling the return value from dialog. This example demonstrates the return value of the dialog element and how to close a modal dialog by using a form. By default, the return value is the empty string or the value of the button that submits the form within the dialog element if there's one. This example opens a modal dialog when the show dialog button is activated. The dialog contains a form with a select and two button elements which default type submit. Wait, okay, so you can see the escape works. Chica, my friend. So escape basically works, but that's so nice, man. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so let's keep on doing this. So let's extend this. So yeah, this is not the case really, right? Is it? So let's introduce some props. So it's gonna for sure. So the dialog for sure is gonna take a class name, right? No question about that. So I guess class name. It's gonna be class names. Class name. Exactly, right? Something like that. This is just temporary. That's so fucking weird, man. And it's so annoying. What? Okay, let's leave that for a second. Yeah, this is beautiful indeed. Indeed. And of course we will want to programmatically have this open, right? So we'll have to so we will in fact need this stuff as well, right? So we will want to have an is open prop as well, right? Because so we'll have this thing as a boolean, right? So we'll have open, right? Is open. Yeah, exactly, right? Beautiful. Let's go to this CSS file we wrote, right? It's adding this crap. Yeah, and let's try to play with the class name a little bit, right? So if we get to the story over here, let's say here width of 300, height of, let's say, 150, right? Interesting. I wonder why is it not actually applying these widths, right? So why is it ignoring the size dialog? Or maybe is it based on the content? Is the dialog size maybe based on the content inside, right? So what if I would actually smack this thing onto the div inside instead? Is there a difference? Let me actually restart the storybook. Oh yeah, okay, so it was about that, right? Okay, so that's great. Ignore this gradient, this is just an example, right? So let's kind of get rid of that a little bit. So let's just say here, let's say here apply bg text primary color, whatever, right? Just as an example. What the fuck was that, man? All right, so something like that, right? Close dialog. Okay, amazing. That's super, man. Okay, I like that a lot. So next thing, obviously, we're gonna do. So let's keep on kind of building this out ourselves. We're gonna use this thing for sure. So what I'm actually gonna do, I'm gonna come to the dialog itself, and I'm gonna say, hey, dialog, you need to be relatively positioned. I guess. Hopefully, I'm not gonna break things here. What is default behavior? Because I want to put an X. This thing I want it to exist outside, right? So I'm gonna say here. I'm gonna say here. Yeah, I don't actually know. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna import our icon component, right? And I'm gonna say icon name close, icon close, right? I'm gonna give it a class name of width, I don't know, 8 for now. And I'm gonna make it absolutely positioned, and I'm gonna use the offsets, right? Like this. So here's the X now. And I'm gonna put this temporary thing on the icon itself, right? And then we want to also say, hey, the has highest possible Z index, right? And I think when it comes to the icon component, I think we forgot to, give me a second. Did we forget to, yeah, exactly. That's so bad. All right, cool. So we actually forgot to extend this icon with an on-click handler, right? So we're going to say here on-click. And then we're going to go to this bad boy over here, and we're going to say on-click. That's actually not really a correct way to type this, is it? Cannot find and click, yeah. Exactly, it's just the type is kind of wrong. This should be basically event, right? And this should be like shit, like SVG something. SVG element, right? It would be nice to find which type that is. SVG props. Is it maybe this thing? I don't actually remember. No, this should be basically mouse event, right? Or just mouse event. I don't fucking know. Mouse event undefined is not assignable to mouse event. Okay. So this is kind of what I wanted, yeah. Can I do this? Mouse event handler. Mouse event handler. Void is undefined is not assignable to mouse. Is it because of this undefined? And this is generic, I guess, right? Yeah. You know what? Fuck it. It doesn't really matter for now, right? Let's just keep it like this. We just basically want now to be able to close this when clicking this X, right? Okay, great. All right, cool. So we'll need to offset this a little bit outside, right? So I'll actually say something like minus right minus, I don't know, 7. And I'm going to say, you know, text primary or fill primary. Just need to zoom in a bit. Yeah, so you can see it kind of behaves a little bit weird, right? Why is it... fuck. Yeah, that's not cool. Because it's kind of pushing the thing. So this seems to be some shadow DOM, right? Is this a shadow DOM? Let's see. It has to be, right? But I don't see any shadow. Shadow, no, Storybook. Fuck. Yeah. Not what I expected, but I assume that's how this thing behaves, right? I mean, I guess it's fine, right? We can just keep it right 0, top 0, right? So we can always keep the X in the kind of, yeah, always absolutely positioned there. I guess I can just reduce the size of this icon on maybe 6, right? Yeah, right, something like that. Then I can get rid of this, and then yeah, this I guess is gonna be children, right? So here we're gonna say props children, exactly, right? So we'll actually say here children, something like this, right? Yes, exactly, right? And then if we go to the story here, now we can render this image upload thing that we recently built, right? That we recently kind of... So what I'm actually going to do, right? This now actually takes children, right? This dialog. So I'm going to say here, whatever, image upload, right? I don't know if I... Image upload components, yeah. So if I click this now, we should be opening that crap. Okay, beautiful. And then of course, yeah, we have these values, right, which are obviously messing this up, because this dialog now is gonna, I believe, occupy as much space as it needs, right, based on the child content, right? So that's actually pretty good. We can still control that, but that's awesome, right? But we can see that there's some default styles apparently that the dialog gets, right? So let's make sure that the dialog doesn't have these default styles, right? So I suppose here we can say BG transparent, right? We want to reset that crap, and that's great. So that works. As you can see now, we actually do have the dialog kind of already working. The only thing that kind of sucks ass is that this, and also there's no indication that this is a dialog, so we didn't give it any style, right? So maybe if we come here and add some padding around, right? Maybe a border as well. So let's say, you know, border primary, right? So now you can kind of see, this is just so we can see it a little bit. Rounded MD, for example, whatever. Shadow LG. Just so it's kind of indicated that it's a dialog of some sort, right? If we want to have this, right? Yeah, right? Yeah, right? Exactly. And now I think what would be cool, right, is that we implement some behavior. Well, we're going to have to read the documentation here, because I can see that the escape by default works. I can see that we can call this, close this dialog by clicking escape already. That's awesome. I just think that we need to figure out, is there a way to kind of automatically to close when we click outside of the... So let's ask ChatGPT. Does new dialog HTML tag supports auto closing when the dialog, when clicking outside of the dialog context? And let's actually see, see ourselves before we read the docs. I mean, who the hell reads docs nowadays, right? Let's just see what we have. Auto, let's see. Auto correct, auto say, what the fuck is that? Auto focus, close, click. Yeah, let's see what this guy says. The dialog HTML represents the dialog. However, by default, dialog does not automatically close when clicking outside. This behavior must manually implemented using JavaScript. I mean, we could technically implement literally only this, even though it's kind of, yeah, it's one could argue maybe slightly ugly, right? We could implement this inside of our effect, right? So we could say use effect here, and then, you know, we can do something like this, right? This would be a ref itself, right? Essentially, I guess we can do, say, ref, and then here we can say if yeah, fuck you, man. All right. So something like this, right? And then ref contains what the fuck? Wasn't it like dialogue? Yeah, exactly. So this should be fine, right? It says that it doesn't actually exist in the HTML dialog element, which is a little bit strange. I guess it should exist, right? All right, let's see. It's super hackish right now. Who gives a crap, right? Because yeah, it's just complaining about that. Let's let it complain for a second. Okay, let's see what happens now with this effect. Is this farting out completely? Within dialog? Well, it's not within dialog. That's false, right? Ref.current contains event target. Let's just say something like this. Something mouse event handler, I guess, right? Ref contains is not a function. Okay, so let's comment this crap out, right? And fuck this crap, right? Let's just let it complain for a moment. Let's actually let's just do this. Ref contains what? But that's so weird, man. It's like it's literally saying that we're clicking on a dialog. Is it because the like? Yeah, that's weird, right? Look at this. The target itself, as I'm clicking here, is the actual dialog, right? How is that possible? It's almost like there's a dialogue in the background, right? Somewhere. Yeah, here's the dialogue, right? Is it maybe literally occupying the full document? That would make no sense, right? So let's just say here, I'll just do something very random just to... Yeah, so we're still getting that the context is a dialogue. What the fuck? Oh, because I think this idiotic thing is adding a click handler on a document, right? Which is fine, right? No, actually, no, that's okay, that's okay. And the reference is a dialogue. No, so this is actually accurate. No, that's my bad, right? That's actually correct. So within dialog, ref current event target. All right, fuck it. Let's not do this at this absolute moment. Let's just implement. We'll write that we have to do this, right? Because this is just essentially to provide a prop where this is gonna auto close, right? Let's go to this thing, right? And let's just get rid of this. Okay, so let's imagine that for now this is fine now, right? Because we want to go back to tip tap thing, right? I don't want to spend half of the stream on this, right? And I'll just try this. I've never seen this crap, so I'll just try this thing just to see what this does. Because we have yeah, I don't actually see crap, so I don't think it's doing much. Okay, doesn't really matter. Okay, let's leave it as such, right? So now we have a basic dialog, and we're utilizing this dialog, native HTML dialog. So that's amazing, right? I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, okay. I'll just snag this URL here just so we can go back to this later, because we're not done with this yet, right? We're definitely not done with this yet, right? Can our fucking co-pilot be useful for once and give us a hand with this? That makes no fucking sense, man. Why would I need to cast this? I don't get that. Why would I have to cast this? Or ref object. Okay. So is that it? No, it's not. Okay. Super weird. I don't actually know, to be very frank with you. but I'll just cast this for now. All right, cool. Well, it's not complaining anymore, right? And we'll finalize it later. So let's save that, right? So now we have our basic dialog working, right? And we will actually replace this one with the actual the old dialog that I have in Programmer Network. I think we're gonna stop using that. We're gonna use this one because it's native in the browser. Obviously, we gain some points there, right? Okay. So yes. Okay. So let's close this now. Let's close this now. Exactly, right. And so we have this thing kind of almost useful to say, right? So I guess what we're gonna need here, give me a second, in this image no, not image input, that's fine. In this image upload, right? So this is the thing that we're gonna, so basically what we want to do now, right? We last night, if you remember, or yesterday we had a long stream where we've been doing tip tap, right? I'm open sourcing this one. So now we have to, use the image component here as well, and yeah, just redo that behavior from scratch, right? So I'm actually gonna go to my tip-tap stories now, and I'm going to make sure that the image is actually enabled here. So I'm going to say, hey, I want the image here, right? So that's great. But now if we go to, toolbar icons or whatever, here's the image that I commented out. So I'm going to grab this fella and we're going to activate that now, right? What the fuck is going on, man? Are you kidding me? Come on, dude. Jesus Christ. So fucking annoying, man. What the hell is happening? All right, so yeah, yes, okay. So now essentially we're gonna have to, yeah, as I had before, we'll need to, I thought that we had this already done before, but it doesn't seem so, because I did build the API for this, right? So far, I believe before we had this logic here. This is kind of at least the comments that I left, right? So I would open the URL, yeah, this is at least what we had before. All right, but that's not what we're gonna do anymore, right? All right, so yeah, this is pretty much, let's start empty. So click image clicked, right? So let's make sure that our image icon is actually rendered in our tip tap, right? So we have to make sure that over here, right, we have essentially, icon name. It's going to be icon image, right? So here is the image now, and when we click it, right, we have to make sure that we get the console, right? That's great now, right? Next thing is, right, when we click this, we want to open a modal, right? When we open a modal, we want to upload some image and then take the URL of that asynchronous thing. So our, we're going to validate that, upload that to our Cloudflare images. Our API is going to respond. After the API responds, we're going to have to take that URL and then call this editor chain focus set image, blah, 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 right? So we need to get back that URL somehow, right? So let me think a little bit here. So I guess that sort of logic that should trigger that should be somewhere in here, right? Inside of our toolbar, right? So somewhere over here, we should have something similar to what we had in that story for the dialogue, right? So somewhere over here, we should pass down, we should pass down some of these handlers, right, that we're going to create in a second. Just close up some of this stuff. Okay, let me just think about this for a little bit. We could technically have like a global dialogue, right? That's one of the things we could have. Wait, I need to draw this. Yeah, but we can't have a global dialogue here, can we? Because this is a storybook, right? But technically we could have some context somewhere, some global context, dialogue context maybe. Dialogue context. Music is too loud, thank you. Should be fine now, I hope. Alright, never mind. I'm not gonna do that. Alright, so it's fine. So what I'm actually gonna do is something like this. Is just HTML, CSS, and JS basics enough to start learning reactjs? It is. I mean, it's very difficult for you guys who are getting now into web development, right? Because you're very decentralized naturally to learn basics of the language well enough, right? So it's very hard for you guys not to rush too fast into it, right? It's a hard one, right? It's a hard one. I wish I can tell you, I wish I can give you, if you asked me this 10 years ago, 15, I would absolutely tell you, like, you must know. I mean, I know JavaScript really well. I spent many years teaching it as well, because that was just how it was back then, right? Today, a lot of you guys can get away with a lot of this stuff, right? So it's a hard balance, right? I think you should learn HTML and CSS really well, and you should try to learn JavaScript really well as well. But it's hard to tell you, like, to what degree you should go, right, in this context, right? Because that's a hard one. The Scub, first time chat. Thank you very much, man, for sending a message. And by the way, you guys, you can see, so now we have this working. So this is awesome. This is great. So we almost have it. So it's actually not that terrible, right? Or fundamentally to say, right, we need to call this editor blah blah blah, right? So hopefully, let's see, hopefully what would you do if I started today? So the thing is, so I started writing JavaScript maybe 16, 17 years ago, right? Not because I wanted this, because my job required it. And back then, right, I spent a lot of time. I've spent so many years trying to master the language, right? I even read the ECMAScript spec, right? I did so many of these things. So would I do these things today? No, right? So let me maybe tell you what I wouldn't do that I did, right? So I spent so much time learning such a low-level things of a JavaScript language, right? And the reason why I'm saying that I wouldn't do that again isn't because that's bad. It's simply because I forgot so many of these things, right? Because you don't really use these things on your everyday job. Back in the day, we did use these things, right? Because we didn't have so much abstraction, so you had to know it, right? So what I would do if I'm you, if I was starting, I would just try to build things using these modern technologies, right? Pick any framework; they're all doing the same crap. React, Vue, whatever, Stencil. There's 7 billion of them, right? It's hard to keep track, right? Every 20 seconds there's a new one. So I would just say, try to build things, right? Try to build things, try to, that's the most, it always has been the most important, right? That's I think the best advice I can give you right now. My pleasure, man. And again, never forget, your skills are only as relevant and valid as amount of the things you built, right? So if you're starting today, focus on your skills. Don't talk too much. Don't complain about things. Don't, right? Just focus on building things, right? But because fundamentally, the only indicator of your skills is going to be the things that you can show for, the experience you can show for. Everything else, because why am I telling you this? Because now you're probably young, you're early in your career, and you're going to be facing a lot of just bullshit talk from inexperienced developers. You're going to see this on Twitch, you're going to see this on YouTube, right? So just focus on be the doer, be the person who does things. Anybody can say things, but very few people can do things, right? It's easy to talk. Talk is cheap, right? Talk is cheap. You're going to notice early in your career, this is very typical for very young and very inexperienced professionals, is like you're going to hear Yeah, you're gonna hear this is very typical for people who are maybe new to the industry. As you kind of mature, as you grow older as well, I guess this type of wisdom also comes with the age, right? You stop doing this because you just focus on yourself, you focus on productivity, you focus on providing value to your company, to your customers, to whoever, to yourself, right? So I'm just trying to save you some time. So avoid, useless talk, cheap talk. People are great at talking. People are great at pointing things that are bad, but people are terrible at providing solutions or saying anything of value to solve these problems, right? So it's very easy to complain about things, and nobody likes the complainer. If you complain about things, try to provide an alternative to your complaint. Otherwise, bitching about things without solution is useless, and it's childish, and don't be that person, right? So if you can't make things better, don't talk about them, right? Or at least try to... Yeah, so this is I can say that I was fortunate to have a very good career. I'm a tech lead today, and I do well in my career, and I have a family, and I do this project, right? So I'm talking this was revelation to me. When I started, I'm saying all of this thing, and I think that I put my money where my mouth is. So after I focused on things that I can control, focus on things that I can do, my life has rapidly improved in every segment of it, right? So in simple words, be proactive, don't be reactive, provide solutions to the things you're complaining about, be helpful, and people will want to work with you, right? I wrote an article, I shared this so many times in this stream. Which YouTube video, Leo? Yeah, but I wrote this article 6 years ago, 6 years ago. So this is this is kind of something like that. Yeah, continuous excusing development. I invented a syndrome back then. Okay, well, anyway, I hope that helps, man. And of course, I know that you do, Leo. That's why I keep repeating this so many times in my stream. I know that you do, right? I wouldn't repeat these things so many times, right? I repeat this to my wife. I repeat this to my kid. I repeat this to all the people I love because I wish them the best. I want them to be the best version of themselves, and I don't want them to waste their lives spending time on empty words, right? So I remind myself of this every day. If I'm about to complain about something, I remind myself of these types of things almost every day, right? So it's not a cheap talk that I'm giving you here. Actually, this philosophy of mine, if I may call it like that, isn't really mine. It is a philosophy that's mine to some degree, but it's a philosophy that I was influenced by my own tech leads, by my own good managers that I had as well. And I told you the story countless times that one of my managers many years ago, right, has told me, I would come to him constantly and I would complain about things, and at one point he just said, do it, right? I would come to him and say, why are we doing this like this? Why are we doing this like that? And at one point he got really sick of me, right? And he just started telling me, instead of just disagreeing with me, he just said, do it. All right, make it better, man. He said, make it better. Okay, you think it sucks, right? Yes, make it better. And that was one of the biggest lessons of my life. I don't know if he knows this. Maybe he's not aware of the impact that he had on me, but he just won, right? He taught me a lesson, maybe even unwillingly, maybe unknowingly, right? He just started saying, do it, Alex. It sucks, right? Yes, make it better. And I was just standing there like an asshole, right? I was like, shit, Now I actually have to do the work. So the complaining wasn't really sufficient. I actually have to do something now. I can't just bitch like a little asshole. Oh my god. So of course people do this, and it's typical to younger people and less experienced people. So it's not that I was great at these things. So don't think that I'm somewhat born with this. I'm like smart or some shit. No, I'm not. It's just experience, right? And I just try to share this advice to younger people because demographics of Twitch, a lot of young people are here, right? So trust me, of course, you can't learn everything from someone else. You have to make some mistakes on your own, of course. But if I can save you some hours or years or days, then, I mean, hell yeah. CEO of OpenAI, well, I'm glad that he says that. I genuinely mean this out of my heart. Okay, so this is actually easier. This was easier than I thought. So next thing we want to do, right, when we open the modal, right? So we'll have to pass. This is super good. This is awesome. I think this is great. I mean, wow. Okay. So on image selected here, right? So we'll at one point, so we already have an image selected, right? On file loaded. So nice. Okay. So let's get over here, right? And so we're gonna do something like this, right? And then here we're gonna say const handle image selected, right? Let's just see. No, but almost. This Copilot is being smart. It's like assuming well, right? But it's not. This is not the URL. I think the way that I implemented this image upload. How did I implement this? Image input. I guess it's this one. Yeah. On image selected. Oh, I see. Give me a second. On file loaded. Okay. All right. Let's just do this because it doesn't really matter in this context, right? It's just yeah. And what was it base? I think when I implemented this, it was like base 64 image, right? On file load args. I actually have to see what this is. Give me 2 seconds. Just one moment. What is this complaining about? Well, yeah. On file loaded. Okay. Ah, shit. My bad, right? Okay. So bear with me. Oh yeah, we didn't write this in TypeScript. That's why. Okay. We didn't write this in TypeScript. Okay, my bad, sorry. It is a TS file, but we're transitioning now, right? Okay. So ID string on file. Give me one moment. Image upload, right? No. Upload something. Image input, right? What was it, man? There's so many of these components. Yeah, okay, on file loaded takes this type. And what is this type? On file loaded args. Okay, that's because this is my custom implementation, right? So on file loaded, right, we're gonna say takes this asshole here. Beautiful. And then here we're gonna say, hey, label is a string, obviously, right? Beautiful. Okay. Cool. And then over here we can say, args, whatever. It doesn't really matter for now. Come on, man. So fucking annoying. Why are you annoying me, man? Oh, this is why, right? I guess. I hope. Jesus Christ. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, so hard, man. Jesus Christ, man. Ah, I see. I see. I see. I see what's happening. Okay. I see what's happening. All right, cool. Finally. Okay. What's your favorite tank? I don't honestly know much about military stuff. So I don't think I have a. Only thing I know is tanks game that I played on Sega Mega in the 80s, 90s. I was playing this in the 90s. But I had the cheap version, the Chinese version, because I couldn't afford. Because I couldn't afford the red one. So I had this cheap ass copy. And I played the tanks on it. Where's Sega Mega Drive, man? I mean, it has to be a Soviet tank, right? But yeah, I played like a Sega Mega Drive tanks. Yeah, this one. Man, what the fuck, dude? That's it. That's it. I remember sitting with my brother, man. I'm not gonna get all sentimental and old boomer, right? But I remember sitting with my mom, my brother, right, in the 90s, playing this all day long, man, until my mom just kicks me out of the house. Go out, play with other kids, little bitch. Yeah, man. Those times when you're beating the living shit out of your kid was normal times, right? These were the times, man. These were the good times, dude, right? Get the fuck out of the house, little bitch. Pew! Like a one-handed forehand. Now you would get shamed in prison, whatever. Fuck your tanks. Pew! Beautiful times, beautiful times. All right. There we go. So we have the base 64. Oh my god, this is so nice, man. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. Okay, so now I think we can literally use this asshole here. I think we can literally give it a base 64 URL because I think it does take that, right? So wait. Yeah, so it's data.base64. Yeah, that's how I implemented data.base64. Let's try to give it this. Yes, yes. Bam, motherfuckers. Bam. Beautiful. Beautiful. Works. 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 Easy. Binary 64 shared some video with us. Coding while parents are arguing. Wait. Well, you guys can't hear this, but your husband can't get a little action. Poor guy. A simple man. He only wanted one thing. He only wanted one thing. Poor fella. Poor fella. Poor fella, man. What is your thought about competitive programming, aka programming competitions? What's my thought on that? I actually, yeah, I don't know. I never thought about it, to be honest. I don't think that programming is a competitive profession, really. I would much rather see these competitions to be competitive more in a way of actually building something useful rather than competing who has spent more hours sitting solving redundant algorithmical problems. Right? Hackathons I love. I do several hackathons every year. I love hackathons. It's my favorite thing. I absolutely adore hackathons. This project, as you know, Programmer Network, the idea came out in a hackathon, right? So I love hackathons. I think they're healthy. They're super fun. I mean, hopefully once we finalize the meetups feature here in Programmer Network, right? I'm gonna organize some hackathons. I'm gonna spend all of this little money I have from your subscriptions, and we're gonna have some reward, right? So I think I don't know how much I'm making now from you guys, but maybe $30-40 I make out of this Twitch thing. So I think we're gonna do some hackathons. Yeah, I'm rich. You guys are making me. I mean, if you guys should stop it, right? But yeah, we 100% gonna organize some hackathons. 100%, no question about that. 100%. Okay, going back. Okay, so this is amazing, man. This already works. And wait a minute. So we need to. So now, yeah, now we're kind of in this. Now we're in between. No, man, it's fine, dude. I'm just kidding. I don't need the. It's I don't. People who there's I mean, people that have been here with me for a long time. They're all subscribed pretty much, and it's more about a matter of acknowledgement for me than money, right? This $40 are literally so useless, it's meaningless, right? But it has different value. It has sentimental. It has different type of value, right? It's more of a respect type of thing rather than and again, it's for me it's more about the community, because from day one when I started making this Programmer Network project, I always wanted it to be funded by everybody chipping in $5, right? Because that's awesome. You know, I still wanted to build this so it's self-sustained, right? So that it was always about that. It's not that, I mean, this little thing that this Twitch gives goes basically technically to the hosting and all of that stuff, right? So that's just so cool for me. It's super cool. Okay, this worked out better than I expected, honestly. $40 is useless, dude. What? Yeah, I get that, man. I get that. And I would never want these guys to do that, right? I think Leo found himself in that category. Little bitch from Finland. Alex, you know, I would subscribe, but $5 is a fortune here. $5. $5 here in Finland. Motherfucker, I've been in one of the, I've been to Helsinki 2 years ago when I worked at the Technical University of Denmark, and Helsinki is even worse than Copenhagen, man. It's actually more expensive than Copenhagen. I was shocked. I was like, this dude coming from Copenhagen, I'm like, just like, you know, it was, man. It was really expensive. It was really expensive. Okay, so buying policy of Chevapi, good as sub. Dude, don't mention Chevapi, man. I miss that crap so much, man. I miss it so much, man. We're using this already. Beautiful. Makes the current node as an image. I think aren't we calling that already? Yes, beautiful. It's just what is this run doing though? No, I think beer here in a bar is around 10 euros. So when I go out with my friends, I usually spend... the front end is deployed to Cloudflare pages. So this is a free service. Images are uploaded to Cloudflare images, basically. So this is not free. I'm paying for this every month. I think $10 a month. But this is think of Cloudflare images as S3 bucket, just optimized for images, and it brings some kind of image utilities which are useful, right? Okay, so all of this I've implemented before, so all of this I'm sure works already. Beautiful. I mean, yeah, this is super. So I was in Helsinki. So I was at Technical University of Helsinki 2 years ago, Leo. So I went for a meeting to this Technical University of Helsinki because I was working at DTU at the Technical University of Denmark. And I was part of this biggest European infrastructure project, I think, ever in history of the European Union. And that was super awesome. So I spent some time here. But then I remember going out a little bit, and it was like super fucking expensive. I don't use Next.js. I just use React. That project, man, Leo, was... I almost didn't resign from DTU just because of that project. Because it's essentially... So the project was about... This is the project, right? I cannot reveal some NDA related stuff, because I have a contract, right? But the project basically is like this. You have all of these super cool universities. You have DTU, Danish Technical University, right? You have Helsinki Technical University. You have Technical University of Oslo. You have Technical University of Stockholm, right? Etc. etc. You have a bunch of these universities, right? And these universities have shit tons of medical data because they do incredibly important cancer research, all sorts of crazy stuff, right? And sometimes they want to share data with each other, right? So this guy at DTU, John Doe, wants to get access to the document from Fon Po, a professor at Technical University of Stockholm, right? Super sensitive data requires a lot of stuff, not to get into details. So this project that I was part of was building this guy here in the middle that would handle all of those complex related permission and other types of things, right? Because all of these guys want to get some data. They don't know which university has it, and you can't expose this data, right? So you would have to expose only some metadata, right? You would say that, hey, well, this document exists somewhere, and it's owned by someone, right? And then you would request that. And a lot more stuff, right? This is just a general picture. I think the project is still ongoing because it's. And why was this project complicated, right? It's not only complicated because of technicalities. That's even the lesser thing. It's complicated because of law. Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Germany, all of them have different laws on sharing these documents, right? So now you have to build a system that adheres to every fucking law, which is different by every single country, right? So, and these laws change, right? They're dynamic, right? So you have to build a system that's prone to this dynamicity, right? Because one day some asshole in Brussels might scratch his balls and decide to, let's fuck these poor developers up, right? Well, I cannot get into that. I cannot get into that. That's how much I can tell you. My wife is knocking the wall. My wife is knocking the wall. I have to be a little bit more silent. I'm yelling like an idiot, and she's trying to sleep. Okay, so this is pretty much, I think, when it comes to the image, right? So this now works. Obviously, when we select an image, we want to close this modal. I guess I have to refresh this crap, right? Ah, okay, it's because I removed the run thing, right? Yeah. Voice down, make up. Yeah, that's true. That's true, yeah. Okay, give me a second here. So when this is called, right, I want to say dialog or ref dot beautiful. That's literally what I want, right? So now in our tip tab, I choose this, we do this, blah, 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 bam. You have your image in there, right? And now, of course, we have to upload this image to our API, right? Somewhere we need to do the validation and all of that other stuff, right? Okay, let me do one thing though. So let's set the limit to max file size to like 5 kilobytes. So I want the validation to fail, basically, right? I want explicitly validation to fail in this context, right? And it did fail now, which is great, right? Now, wait, let me change the music. Give me 1 second. Some of you guys are assholes and you don't know anything about music at all. Actually, this is one of the best albums, arguably, ever made. Image input, yeah. On validation error, right? Yep. Beautiful. Neo, Neo buddy, good evening. Not much, man, not much. Just trying to get back into streaming and trying to be, you know, what's it called? Consistent with it again, right? What about yourself, man? The size of the avatar must not exceed, yeah. Yeah, trying to get back to regular streaming, right? Because I'm still reluctant. Oftentimes, should I stream or should I not, right? I hate Java and PHP. I mean, don't hate anything, man. Be open-minded. Why would you hate it, right? Half of the internet or more is running on PHP and Java, right? So don't hate it. You know, learn what it offers, learn the things that you think could be done better, and then carry that knowledge to another language. Programming languages are not competition. It's not a pact. It's not a sect, right? You don't have to categorize yourself to you don't have to characterize yourself into some sort of group of people who like or dislike this language, right? So don't hate on it, right? These languages are still relevant, right? You know, I'm just trying to save you some time, because sooner you grow up in these things, right? Because it's very, you guys are very prone to a lot of programming propaganda, you younger fellas, right? So it's not that you're hating these things, it's more that you've been influenced by other idiots, and then you think you should actually hate on these things, right? So no, you don't have to hate on a language. Every language has something to offer, right? Hype-driven developers. Yeah. I mean, as I said, I have a YouTube video on that, right? It's called Influencer-Driven Propaganda. I really need to link that. But if you get a chance, you guys should probably watch it. How do I freaking share that, man? Like, can I? Why does it open it in this app, man? I don't get that. Where is it, dude? So hard, man. Yeah. Yeah, I made a video on that on YouTube. It's called Influencer-Driven Development. Yeah. Influencer-Driven Development, Programming Propaganda. So that's pretty much what I'm talking about. Just Okay, so this is good. This is good. I think, yeah, this extension could use a little bit more stuff, right? But yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so going back to this fella over here, right? Now let's basically, yeah, this is perfect. This is awesome, right? So what I'm gonna do now, so we have this on validation error, right? Do you ever watch your own videos? Yeah, when I record them. And it's not really a string, right? So that's the problem. So on validation error, this is the error. So let's actually turn this into a type. So let's say here export type t validation error, something like this, right? Can I do this? Yeah. Something like this, right? Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair, right? And then if I go over here, no. And then here I can say t validation error, right? And we mistyped that, right? So t validation. You type fast, man. What's your I don't know, man. I used to care about these things when I was a lot younger. But I remember that I was competing on this website. This was maybe 10-15 years ago. I think I was amongst either 1,000 or 2,000 other than like 200,000. But I don't, yeah, I don't, I laugh at myself now when I think about some of these things I was doing as when I was younger. It's so irrelevant, right? How quickly you can type. It has so little significance. It's crazy, right? But it's a good question. I genuinely don't remember. Okay, so that's great. That's beautiful. Okay, perfect. Okay. So, okay, great. So actually this is, yeah, I'm super happy with this. I must say. Super happy with this. Okay, amazing. Then we can have here basically some state, right? We can say image validation error. Yeah, exactly. I guess we can just do that, right? And then over here we're gonna say, hey friend, set image validation error, error.message. That's amazing, right? And then I suppose in our dialog, right, we could show that, right? I mean, even though technically this should, yeah, actually, I don't think we necessarily need this, because I remember when I designed this image upload long ago on validation error. I mean, let's actually go into the image input now, because this is all relatively freshly refactored, right? Because there is an error prop in here, right, that we have. Wait a minute, give me a second. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. Okay, I mean it's okay, right? It doesn't really matter, right? I guess what I'm trying to say here is that for the image upload here, we can actually get this thing, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say, we could have the error there outside, right, and then showcase it there, or we can keep it inside of this dialog, right? So I think I'm gonna do that. So maybe I don't think there's a point leaking this information out. I don't think there's a value in that at all, right? So yeah, I mean we can still support this handler, right? Because we have to, because we want to make sure that we can close the dialog when this happens, right? But the error itself, I think, should be here, right? So yeah, so something like here, right? So error and then error dot message, right? I think that's fair to do, right? And then so we basically do this, right? And then we can also call the handler if it exists. So we can say, hey, exactly, right? So that's fair. And then, yeah, over here we can, yeah, yeah, I'm just talking to myself a little bit here, but yeah, and then I can use this error component that I have. I don't actually, where is it, but give me 1 second. Input error, okay. Yeah, that's a little bit weird, man. I mean, it's a little bit weird, but yeah, because I can just do this and now I can say image validation error, right? So now if I do this and right? Yeah, the size of the, yeah, exactly. So okay, so now the question is, should we be even calling this? Where did I put that crap? Over here. Maybe we shouldn't even auto close this. Maybe we just need to show that to a user. Hey user, you know, the file you're trying to upload is, that's not cool, man, right? Beautiful. Okay, and let's so nice. Okay, so let's go into the image input here, as I've implemented this very long ago, and obviously we see that this needs to be a block type of thing, right? So input wrapper class name. So we should most likely make this some base class, right? So here I can say flex, you know, call gap, I don't know, 2, and then whatever this is, right? So now it should give me that. Yeah, maybe we should say justify center, right? Maybe. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's funny. I would expect this fella to kind of be, but whatever, right? Let's just say here. Is this actually being propagated, these changes? No. And what happens with this crap? Yeah, I'm getting back to you guys in a moment, I promise. Item center, okay, we need to say justify center, right? That's what we're missing, right? Yes, there we go. And then this fella over here is, yeah, I guess we need some padding, so this window is going to get bigger, or we need to break words, right? So maybe on this input error thing, right, we need to break words if they get too wide, right? So I suppose if and let's also improve that as we go, because yeah. Wait a minute. So if error is an object, blah 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 blah. So let's unify these classes. Ah, so nice, man. Okay. I mean, we'll need to for Programmer Network, you can build your own theme. So if you go to Programmer Network, if you have registered already, I hope you did, you can go to the UI settings and you can make your own theme, right? So if you want to make your own white theme, right, you can choose your primary color, you set the background to white, and then you choose your text color to, let's say, black. You save that, and now you have your own white theme, right? So we have a lot more than just 2 themes. You can build your own, right? You can choose any colors you want. This is saved in a database, right? So you can you can do whatever you want. Yeah. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I just didn't want to make opinionated things, and then at one point I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna make this so people can make their own theme, right? I'm not. I mean, right now the tasks that we're doing are very heavily front end, right? Because that's just the nature of it. But I work as a tech lead, so for the most part, I'm in the meetings now at work. But I'm a full stack engineer. I mean, it's just that a lot of back end is mostly done. I mean, nothing is done. The project is never done, right? But we are now just happen to be. Yeah, doing the more front end, right? Because it's just the front end is where the pain is, right? So what if I would say here max width, just for fun? I just want to test something out. Max width 100. This is gonna look like shit. Obviously, I just want to see it. Okay, so never mind. Okay, so I'm gonna say maybe a px4, and no, actually I can say P4, right? Shit. But that feels a little wrong, doesn't it? Because why does it get out of the actual dialog, this native dialog we started using? So I want to trigger the error, right? I mean, this doesn't look terrible at all. I'm not worried about that. So it's not terrible. It's just... yeah, I don't know. It feels a little weird. Okay, that looks a little better. But what if this text was like a lot bigger, right? So what if it was like twice the size? Yeah, that fucking sucks, right? So we can't really allow that, right? We can't allow that because you see this the modal now, the dialogue that we have is yeah, so we need some sort of max width in this, I guess, right? Wait. Shit, that's not what I wanted. It doesn't really matter. Come on, man. Select the freaking text, dude. Yeah, but that doesn't look bad at all. I think it's fair enough, right? I think it's fair enough. And actually now, when I think about this, right, if we go to this very component that we wrote that has a really bad name, right? What we'll just actually say this plain. So we're gonna wrap this fella into something else, right? We're gonna say class name. What was it? Hidden, right? Because we just needed this to trigger the actual modal, right? No, never mind, we can't because of the error. Okay, that sucks. I just watched your influence during development. I hope it helps, man. I think a lot of younger generation of developers are influenced by, in 2008 approximately, I started professionally working in this industry, right? And I remember back then that there actually wasn't even remotely, none of this shit existed, like Twitch influencers and all of that crap. There were some YouTubers, right? But now it's crazy, man. Like I feel bad for younger people getting into this industry because genuinely it must be confusing like hell, right? I can't even imagine how some of you feel, right? Because everything is bad, right? It's just such a little bit, I don't know, it's weird, right? it's a very weird feeling when I what is this? Mid-journey. Cold feet in the water. Good to have you. Good to have you here, man. Thank you for spending your time in this stream and not in 500 other ones. Yeah. Okay, that's great. I mean, I think that's kind of acceptable to say, right? For now, we'll need to go back and forth with that again. Okay, where's my project here, right? Okay. That's not what I wanted. Okay, yeah, so next thing I want to see here is that one thing that I've noticed is that these things have stopped working, right? And let's see why, right? Because it seems that this I dot is active is actually never true. So let's take a look at that, right? So what I'm actually going to do, we're mapping in here, right? So I'm just gonna print this, right? Active state. And I'm gonna say I.id and then it's active, right? So let's see if we have messed something up in the meanwhile as I was refactoring this. So H1 is active, H2 is active, H3 is active. Okay, so that's all good, right? I like that. Now the next thing here is the class names width. So maybe the fill is the problem. So maybe some of these icons take text and not fill, right? So let's try to change this to text instead. And yeah, that was the problem, right? So now they are actually getting the right state, so that's awesome. And yeah, we'll need to change these icons because I've realized that I actually fucking hate these icons, so we'll need to remove that. Yeah, we'll have to change these. So the image now is almost fine, right? The only kind of thing is that we should probably set some max within this, right? So let's actually, give me 1 second. So I think I will in fact do that. So what is the natural size of this element now? I think that should always be its size, right? So this thing now is 300 pixels, 305 pixels width, and so basically, yeah. Okay, so if we go to this bad boy here, what if we just say, hey man, you know what? How about we give you, you know, max, so we say max width of 320 pixels and I don't know, max height of 270 pixels. Okay. Now if we get that error, right, so it's still kind of moving a little bit, right? And that's maybe okay. Is this ugly though, this error looking like this? Maybe, but let's leave it. Let's not get stuck by these details, right? So actually what I just did, we'll need to kind of experience these issues before we invent them ourselves, right? I think it is rows. This is rows. This is rows 500, yes. So it is already a rows, right? If we go to input aerials, you'll notice, oh, actually, no, it's not. What? How come it's pink though? I thought, yeah, I mean, we are using rows all over the place. Okay, that's a good one. I think we're gonna use the super strange. Leo, I love you, man. Have a good night, dude. Have a good night. Yeah, there we go. Actually, I haven't. Let me just run all of my tests for this library, right? Because this is all has 100% coverage. Let's make sure that we see you tomorrow, my friend. get some rest. Okay, all the tests are still fine. Okay, so okay, yeah, okay, that's great, super. So yeah, rows it is. Let me just try 500 just for fun. Yeah, that's maybe fine. So one thing that I don't notice now, right, is that we will need to kind of re-render this contents of this, right? So we'll need to yeah, okay. So let's close some of this stuff up. Types, image upload, dialog, blah blah blah. What else did I want to do? Okay, yeah, exactly, right. Okay, so yeah, over here, right? Handle image click, yes. So we'll need to somehow provide, because I'm open sourcing this component now, right? So we'll need to ensure that we pass a promise-based function here, or some function that returns a promise, right? That people who want to use this component, they can, when they instantiate TipTap, right, and they want to have that particular instance of TipTap support image upload, that they can actually pass a promise-based function that when it actually, that one can call, because that's what we do in Program Network already. So essentially here, right, this set image, if this is called, if it doesn't fail validation, this basically here should call some handler passed through props, right? Which means that the toolbar itself, now we have to extend it with something like on set image or something like that, right? And then of course, yeah, so this is gonna eventually have to be an async function here, right? That's, we're gonna set this image if the upload is correct, right? So there's, yeah. Something like that, right? Okay. And this on set image is not gonna, it's gonna actually take certain things, right? So this is gonna be something like this, right? We're gonna have something like a wait, right? It's gonna take base64 image, which is a string, right? And it's gonna return a promise, right? If it succeeds, we're gonna say proceed. So it's not gonna return really anything. If it doesn't fail, it's good. If it fails, we'll have it. So yeah, essentially we'll need to, eventually we're gonna end up with something like this, right? Something like that, right? And yeah, so this bad boy here is gonna take base64 image, which is a string, right? And it's going to return a promise, right? Can I do this? Ah, shit. Something like that, right? I think that's good. Now this await is saying, hey, yeah. So if we manage to do this, then we're going to set it in the editor, right? Then we're going to close the actual modal, right? That's what we want to do. If it fails, we'll have to set some error, right? So maybe the error that we set inside of this image dialog should have actually came from the outside instead, right? Because this error can be thrown by the this thing that I built long ago on validation error, but now it can also fail if my API fails. You know, Cloudflare images service might be down or whatever. Yeah. So actually, I don't need this thing. This is actually, if you can wait another day, I'm gonna push this. I'm open sourcing this. There's a lot of awesome stuff that I built here, and it's quite complex stuff. Serializer, a lot of clever things. You see, I wrote a lot of these things long ago. Right now, I'm just open sourcing it, putting in. So if you're patient a day or two more, you're gonna have all of this code, because this Yale library that I open sourced, it's one of these things that I recently open sourced. It's basically it's the component library that I wrote for Programmer Network. It's, if anybody wants to give it a star, be my guest. So it's gonna be there. It's actually already there. It's just not the latest changes, but I didn't deploy it as part of the storybook yet. But code up until this stream is already there. If you go to TipTap, if you go to inputs, but yeah, there's more code that I'm gonna push. Yeah. So here's the TipTap stuff, right? So feel free to use any of that knowledge but it's my pleasure. But there's a lot of awesome stuff in there, but keep in mind, yeah, there's serializing, there's mapping, there's I built a whole system around TipTap, basically, right? Beautiful. Okay, that's very good. That's very good. Okay, let me get some water. 1 second. Super. Okay. What did I want to do though? I forgot. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember. Okay. Yeah. On set image. So now the toolbar takes this bad boy, right? But we need to be a little bit more clever. We only want to call this logic ever if the image plugin is actually enabled, right? Because right now we don't account for that. Right? We need to be very careful about that, right? What did you use for image crop? I don't actually remember. I used some third-party library, and then I wrote. So you can see here in my storybook, or if you look at the production at Yale. If you go to Yale.programmer.network, right? So I have image crop, and I have image input. So this image input, I wrote amazing stuff around it. You can see I implemented some compression, blah blah blah. But then I also have image crop, yeah. When you say it's bugged, what do you mean, bugged? Let me take a look at my Grafana and Prometheus. When you say it's bugged, what do you mean? Let me see if there's any errors yeah, I'm not actually getting any errors that from the API, or any strange logs. So I wonder maybe what is. Have you tried refreshing? Yeah, but I think the best thing you can do is, I guess most likely is, or you can actually tell me what the error is, but I think you need to clear your cookies most likely. I think you probably got into some shitty state. What is your? It gets stopped. What is this browser? Is this Chrome? I guess it is. Yeah, try doing that, and if not, because I don't see any errors here in my reporting stack right now, right? Yeah, let's actually fix that. I think we really need to fix that, because I mean, people are signing up to the platform every day. If I go to /programmers, I don't know if anybody signed up today. Yeah, I think this is a new person. I don't know if it's today. Yeah. So I can see that people are signing up and completing their profile. So let's try to clean your cookies and then see if it's working. But I can see that you most likely have the old files as well and stuff, because so I think you'll need to clear your cache for Programmer Network. I think you have the old version of the. I think that the platform is heavily cached, most likely. That's the thing, because nobody reported that, at least not recently. Which doesn't mean it's not broken. Don't take me wrong. Maybe it is broken, but let's make sure it's not. I hope it's not. I truly hope it's not. Okay. Going back to what the hell was I doing? Oh yeah, going back to TipTap again, right? So yeah, so let's keep on doing that. So okay, yeah, okay, I see. Okay, great, super. Tip tap. I just need to check one thing. I need to write some a little bit clever logic for one of the things. Okay, so we have, yeah, type. So name should be image, right? Yeah. Yeah, okay. So we have to write some logic here. So let's say something like this. Let's say const is image extension active. Extension dot extension, and then what was it? Extension dot name, I guess, is image. Shit. But let's not use find. Let's use sum maybe. Right? Sum might be better for this, right? Okay, that's good. Okay, great. So we need this now. And then over here, we're gonna pass some of that, right? So if I go to toolbar, we're gonna extend these props. So I think what I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna group all of these props under image, right? So I'm gonna say image on set image, whatever, yeah. And then this is gonna be a boolean basically, just like this, right? So I think I like that more. I'm gonna get rid of this. Image on set image is extension active. Yeah, something like that, right? I like that. So if I go here, takes the image now, right? And then here we can say image on set image. And then basically all of this has to conditionally be rendered only if that extension is active. So here we have to say image dot is extension active, and then and only then do this, right? Is there any other? this is actually just to be super safe. It doesn't really matter. We don't need to go to the insanity in detail here, but fundamentally, right, we also need to do something like this, right? So this and this, right? That's great. I like that a lot. And then over here, I'm gonna yeah. So I'm gonna create some image object here somewhere. So I'm gonna do something like this, const image, I guess. Super shitty name, I get that. Yeah, more or less that, yes. I like that a lot, yeah. Okay, I don't know how to name that better for now, so let's name it the best I can right now. And then here I can say image is image, right? Yeah, it's because, yeah, this is not resolving anything, so that's okay. Let's just print it or whatever, right? Just for fun, right? And what is this fella complaining about? It's saying, hey, Alex, I don't like something. His extension boolean undefined. Okay. Okay. So let's go to. I guess this always has to be a boolean. That's what it's complaining about, right? We have to cast that, so this cannot be undefined because this potentially can return undefined, right? So that's the problem. Okay, cool. So I think that's that looks very good. I think that looks pretty clean, right? This is obviously just a temporary placeholder, and that's great. But if we take a look at the toolbar now, so the toolbar now takes some image, something called image, right? Some object that has, if the image extension is enabled, that's and only then we wanna even render this dialog, right? And then here, when you click on the actual, because for those of you who will read the source code because you already have access to it, these extensions are rendered. If I go, for example, to my storybook, you can see that these are the controls that I'm telling the extensions that I'm telling my TipTap to render. So basically, this is because in Programmer Network as well, I have a bunch of these editors, and I don't support all of the same rich text editing across every instance, right? Some of them have image upload, some don't. Some of them have, I don't know, headings, some don't. So the idea there is that, you know, for this storybook, for this example, I'm supporting these things. And as you can see, one of them is the image, right? An image extension basically allows you to upload an image to your TipTap editor, right? And what we just did, we just said, hey, well, that's great, right? But, you know, we want to make sure that we only enable some specific logic if the image extension is enabled, right? And that's what we just checked for, right? So we can actually see now here that if I do this and we go to, and we increase this, what's it called? We increase the file size, let's just say, whatever, some large file is, we support large files, right? So yeah, so that should be fine, right? That should be working, and we should be seeing that console of this base 64 encoded string, right? And here it is, 167 kilobytes. Yeah, the downside of base 64 encoded strings is that they're generally larger due to the shitty encoding, right? But the beauty of it is that it makes it a little bit easier to implement with these libraries that we have, right? All right. All right, cool. That's amazing. Okay, very good. I'm very happy with the outcome of that. I think that is pretty badass. And of course, now we need to lift this handler one state up, because a user who wants to use image uploading as part of our TipTap experience will have to provide their own service for this, right? So when you click here and when you do this and when you select an actual image, you need to provide a service where you will be, as a consumer of this library, uploading your image. I'm uploading it, obviously calling my own API. You will be calling yours, right? So we now have to extend the TipTap props with this handler, right? And it's pretty much going to be the same interface as what we just did with this fella here, right? So we can literally just do this, right? And right now, the downside of this is that we are, it's kind of mandatory, so we're not going to do that, right? And we're also not going to do this, right? And that's okay. That's going to complain now for a little while, but that's fine. So we're going to say on set image, right? And then we will, yeah, we'll give it here, basically, right? So what I'm actually going to do, I'm just going to copy paste this bad boy, and then I'm going to just do this, right? Then I can go to my storybook, right? And I can say here on set image, we're just lifting the state up. And I can just paste this crap, right? And thank you everybody for your follows. I appreciate that very much. Okay, so I guess we can just grab this fella. Hopefully we can paste this properly. Yes. Okay, great. And now it's just complaining about another thing. Yeah, it's saying, hey, Alex, well, this can technically be undefined. It shouldn't really do that, but it actually should, because no, I'm wrong, so it's fine. So we'll just do something like this, right? And maybe we want to warn the user about this, the developer about this. So let's say, because these, you have to basically have both of these props enabled. Maybe we can be more intelligent in this and just introduce one. We can just say, hey, if onSet image is used as, but no, we can't. No. Because the thing is, this logic only makes sense if you are using the image extension, right? If this image extension exists, right? So what we could do maybe to improve the clarity of this, thing, right? What we could do technically, we can say, well, hey, if this is not true, thank you very much, man. It's just pretty much the default experience almost. I'm using the just the default dark modern. I mean, I don't know if it's a new, but it's just yeah. And the font is this, right? Okay, so what I'm actually going to do here, I'm going to say something like this. I'm going to say, hey, if image.isExtension is not active, but the user has provided on and type of set image is a function, we want to say, hey man, that's great, right? But you're missing, you didn't register the extension, right? Exactly, right? And then we can say on set image prop pass, blah, blah, blah. So we're gonna kind of do this, right? We're not gonna fail, but we'll do this. Maybe we should even return. Maybe we should just throw, actually. I think we're gonna throw here. So I'm gonna say error. Yeah, I think we're gonna do this. It's a library after all, right? Right? Beautiful. So now, right, everything should be fine because I did in fact register it and stuff, right? But if I would, for example, go to my story, I comment out the extension, right, like this. Now we should actually get image extension not found. And if we go here, it says we should see our error somewhere, I guess. On set image prop passed, but image extension not found. Yeah, so that's great. That's exactly what I want. And not registered. As a team lead, do you mentor juniors? Yes. I mean, for sure. Sorry, I was just I'm very sorry. I was just just looking at this. I mean, we don't have many juniors at Dream Data where I work right now. Unfortunately, I wish we have more. But I've spent 5.5 years working as a mentor, so I've done a lot of that, right? You can pretty much check my LinkedIn here, right, if you want. But you can see basically I spent 5.5 years at one point. I worked as a technical expert and mentor at the bootcamp, right? I mean, this was, of course, alongside my work, right? So I've done a lot of that stuff. Yeah. Okay, going back to this. Okay, cool. That's all good. I'm actually happy with that. Yeah. So let's register this back. So we don't have that error, and yeah, we'll at one point need to unit test a lot of this stuff. But so far, yeah, amazing. I'm very happy with the outcome of this. Massa, good evening, buddy. Thank you very much for your compliment. I appreciate that. Our HTML is rendered, all great. Super. Yeah, we need to ensure, of course, that our images are also rendered in the... This is an open source library, right? So this is a little bit different. But yeah, you should be naming your files because it makes it easier to find them, right? But again, it's all about agreeing with your team. There's no good and bad rules in these types of things. The only bad thing is that you don't have a standard, right? So your team lead might think that way, someone else might think a different way, right? So it's fundamentally just the most important part is that you kind of agree on the standard, and that's really all that matters, right? Because these types of things are not set in stone. They're not. They can be done in so many different ways, right? Well, the role of a team leader isn't necessarily to enforce anything really, apart from when it's needed, right? The role of a manager is to really get the best out of the people and try to get the whole team to be on board, right? So you can think about a tech lead or team lead rather as a person who is supposed to make the team the best as it possibly can be, and then jump in when it's necessary to resolve conflict. So if you have 3 people with 3 opinions, a team lead or a tech lead should say, let's step back, let's do this, right? So, but it's not to say that a team or a tech lead or CT or anything like that is supposed to make every single decision on these things. Like, because, sometimes you're going to have 4 people who will just want something, and team leads, decision there should be, okay, you guys want 4 of these things, great, right? Have a discussion, make sure that that's really what we want, and that's pretty much it, right? Let's see, our tests are still all passing, so that's great. Okay, I'm just gonna save a bunch of this code because so this is input error. Okay, so I'm just gonna new dialog component based on native dialog tag. In my case, the team lead does everything to ensure that. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. Yes, but again, if it works for you guys, if the team is happy, then he or she is doing a good job, right? I guess at the end of the day, right? It all is about everyone's personal perception of what these things actually are, right? What is the name of setting to make tabs go vertical? I'm actually gonna have to check it out. To be very genuine with you, I don't actually remember. I'll have to take a look at that. So yeah. So this image upload, I need to just I don't know, after a bit of streaming today, I've changed my mind about the name of this. So this is a terrible name. Let's call this image upload dialog content. I didn't figure it out. Let me take a look at my Grafana and my again. I mean, are you using Tailwind? Yes, sir. I'm using Tailwind. Yeah, absolutely. This whole library is based on Tailwind. Yes. The thing is, I don't see. So yeah. There's something with the caching, right? Because when I take a look at the API logs, if you're asking my API, nobody's failing, right? So super weird, right? If you can open your console and send me some of those errors, especially if you could send them on Discord. Tailwind CSS is a great utility library, right? It's really it's the way that CSS that we wrote CSS like that 20 years ago, right? So it's genuinely yeah. I don't use Sentry for this project because I have my own reporting tooling that I wrote, right? I have my own infrastructure that I built. My whole infrastructure is deployed on Hetzner. I don't know where it is, but I can, if you want, I can share that. Yeah, these are so that's a strange thing. These are not the errors, right? This is something else, right? So I don't think you're not getting the errors because of these things, right? Yeah, exactly. They do not. So there's something else super weird in your case. Yeah, but you said in incognito, right? So it's some sort of cache or something that you got stuck. Yeah, I mean, I could do that, right? But I don't need Sentry, right? I don't need it because I do log everything in my own we can take a look at that if you want, right? Good evening, YouTube. So this is how Programmer Network is hosted, right? I'll be quick with this. The client is hosted on Cloudflare Pages. I have bare metal machine and Hetzner. I'm using Hetzner Firewall, so I'm only allowing traffic from Cloudflare IP ranges. So when you go to Programmer Network, you're basically, there's a whole CDN, Cloudflare CDN in front of it. I have Nginx internally just for rate limiting and mainly for as a cron job. It's basically used to renew my SSL certificates for all of the internal services every 3 months. Then I have my whole, this is internal services. I have my stack I have my Prometheus, Alert Manager, Node Exporter. So a lot of these things, this guy sends me Slack messages when an error on my API happens. Prometheus and Grafana are obviously for, various types of things, for logs and for checking my resources on my server. These two services are basically measuring, my, so Node Exporter is measuring my, if I actually go back here, right, so this is Node Exporter basically is measuring my server performance, right? So if we take a look at the, this guy, right, this is, you can see CPI utilization, memory, disk, oscillations in there and stuff like that. Then we have the API logs. This is Loki with Grafana, right? So, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to confuse you too much. This is my Node.js application, my API. I'm monitoring that. And then we have Postgres monitoring. Like, how is my database performing, right? Is there something unusual in there, right? This is just high overview, right? This is the stack. Then my Grafana is basically, it's hidden behind the firewall, right? So if you try to go to this URL, you're going to be blocked because I have a firewall. I have a firewall in front of that's bound to my IP. So only my IP can access that, right? And then we have, Nginx just internally as a reverse proxy. It's not really a load balancer right now. It's not really a rate limiter because I use Cloudflare for that. Because like I said, I only allow traffic to my server from the IP ranges of Cloudflare. So I have a host, I have a firewall and a host machine that only allows traffic to this on my bare metal. And then I have a bunch of rules in Cloudflare, right? So Cloudflare is my, Cloudflare is the favorite service I use. Matty, my friend, good evening. So on Cloudflare, right, I use VAF, I use a lot of security rules, I use page rules, I use service workers, I use a lot of other stuff, right? For example, I can show you that. So over here, right, if we take a look, for example, at security and stuff, we go to security, right? We have a lot of bots and shit that our amazing CDN is fighting for us. Then we have WAF, right, which is Web Application Firewall. Then we have some rules here. So this rule allows entry for let's encrypt servers to hit my servers. This is the rule that I just showed you that blocks access to Grafana other than me or the people who are whitelisted in this managed IP ranges list, right? So you can see here, if the IP source address is not in the list, Grafana allowed IPs essentially block access to that, right? So that's the secret there. And then there's a bunch of bots which are trying to sniff programming network. You can see WordPress crap. So I'm just blocking those bots. I'm just saying if a bot tries to go to any URL that starts with /vp dash, right, I'm saying just neglect that traffic, right? Yeah, there's a lot of shit, man. There's a lot of crap, right? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I had to do. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I can just tell you that much. I have dynamic IP. I would have to use some kind of VPN. I mean, yes and no. If you're not bothered, you could just add your IP every day. So let's imagine that if I would remove my IP from the list now, and I go here, I get a screen, hey, you can't access your Grafana. Well, I could go temporarily and add my IP address, right? So fundamentally, yes and no, depending, if you're not annoyed adding your IP that's changed, maybe tomorrow it's going to be a different one, then not necessarily. All of this stuff is free, yes. The only thing that's not free is Cloudflare images. That's what I'm paying for. So when you upload an image to Programming Network, this is what I'm paying for. And I think I'm paying like $10 a month or something like that, yeah. But I could get away with this for free as well, but I don't care about $10. It's one coffee, right? I don't think there's a free tier for Cloudflare images, no. I'm not aware that there's a free tier, no. So this is my Cloudflare images. You can see that somebody did upload some image. Yeah, somebody signed up and they uploaded the image. You can see they uploaded their avatar. And as you can see, I have 100,000 images every month. Ah, interesting. Honestly, it's so cheap. It's so cheap that I don't care. I think I'm paying like $10. I don't even know how much I'm paying, to be honest. Yeah, this is no. I think I'm paying like $10 or some shit like that. I can't remember. Yeah, I'm building now some task schedulers so I can notify people. On this is not deployed yet, but it will be at one point. Then we have Fastify API. So this is my API. We have Postgres database. We have Redis. So when I built the notification system for Programmer Network, I'm using Redis. I'm using Redis heavily. And then, of course, I'm using AppSmith for my internal dashboards. I'm not going to spend, you never want to spend your time building internal dashboards. That's a huge waste of time. So you can basically give access to a tool like this or retool or something similar, right? And you create your own basically full-featured dashboards. Just you give your database access to a service like this. I'm not going to show you that because I would reveal a lot of user identifiable data, right? So I don't want to do that. But yeah, Redis is used for mostly notifications, right? So when you go to Programmer Network, this stuff here, these notifications are super quick and efficient because I use a lot of hash tables in Redis. And I'm deploying everything, using GitHub Actions, right? So most of the secrets all the secrets are stored in GitHub, right? So every time when I deploy my API, for example, I can actually show you that. It's been a while since I pushed anything to the API, but if we go to the actions here, every time I publish, right, I log in my Docker Hub, I build a new Docker image of my API, I do a backup of my database, so every single time when I push anything new to my API, I always back up my database. How do I back up my database, you might ask? It's a good question, right? Well, I'm using rclone, right? It's not the most resilient system in the world. I mean, keep in mind, I built this whole platform alone. Front-end, back-end, design, infrastructure, databases, you name it, right? So I don't have and I do this 8 hours a week, right? I mean, everything is built inside of this stream. So I back up my stuff using rclone, right? So you can see every time I push, we log into the Docker Hub, we push the image to the Docker Hub, the new one, I back up my database to my Google Drive, I deploy to Hetzner, and the new API is now live, basically, right? Hi there, I'm a silent viewer. A small question which I might have missed seeing your streams. Are you using website builder or anything made by hand? No, everything that you see is built by me, so I'm not using any sorts of builders, no. Well, I mean, you can use, component libraries, and you can build your own stuff in a reusable way, yeah? Well, all of the environmental variables are stored in secrets, right? You have the secrets and variables, right? So all of them are stored here, right? All of the environmental variables are stored and injected by the actual CI, right? Here they are, right? How long does rclone take? 2 seconds or something. Let's take a look at that. It's super quick. Super quick. It takes 6 seconds. Rebecca, my friend, good evening. So I don't know if you can see it here, 6 seconds. what size is your database? I'm pretty sure that programmer database is super small. I mean, we have maybe 1,000 users signed up, few posts, right? So it's kind of, what can that be? 5 megabytes, right? With all the metadata that it brings and all of the shit, right? So it's probably the size is meaningless, right? We don't have a lot of data, and all the images and binaries and stuff are stored in other services, right? So, but you can see that essentially, yeah, it takes 6 seconds to back up the database, right? And yeah, that's basically, you just saw how basically the infrastructure here works, and it's super fun, and it's, yeah, it's fully documented, keep in mind. So one tip that I can give to all of you, one mistake that you can make, you know, I've been doing these things for 20 years, right? But if I haven't documented all of these steps for myself, I would fail miserably, right? So every single thing that I have in this project, every single library, everything is fully documented. This whole infrastructure that I just showed you, you can see it here. I'm not going to show you, I cannot show you things. I have all of my scripts documented. I have readmes for every different thing. So if you want to do infrastructure like this, which there's so many things, right? There's so many things here, from Cloudflare workers to alerting, error, like so many things you have to document. You have to have huge readme files where you describe all of this stuff, etc., etc., etc. So that's the most important part, right? If you want to do your own infrastructure, how long did it take? I don't know. I mean, I did all of this. You know, the thing is, I built this whole platform live on this stream, right? So it would have taken me probably a way less if I haven't been streaming, because you can see streaming is useless productivity wise for the most part, because half of the time, or at least for me, I mostly actually code. I don't like too much chit chat, right? But it's not very, I mean, if you want productivity, don't stream. Streaming is not gonna make you productive, right? I'm glad you said 20 years. Look, Massa, like, the thing is, I didn't build this all at once, right? While this might seem complex, and it eventually did become complex, it was initially very simple. I had an API, and I had a database. Then I had another database. Then I had alerting stack. You get what I mean? So this is both incredibly simple and incredibly complex, depending how you look at it. Let me tell you how. Look, when I built the first version of this platform, and when I pushed it to production, right, it was just the API, the Fastify nodejs, and it was then Postgres database. But then API would go down sometimes, and I wouldn't know why, right? And then I said, fuck, man, I need to know why. I need to know what's happening with my server. And then I was like, okay, let me go ahead and implement Grafana and Prometheus, right? Because I need it, right? All of these things were added by need, right? And then I did that. And then I said, maybe 2 months later, I said, shit, man, it would be actually pretty cool if I can get a Slack message when something bad in my API happens. All right. Then I implemented Alert Manager, right? And then I said, all right, man, well, now I have, a few hundred users signed up. Shit, man, it would suck big time, right? If one day I wake up and the database is gone. Somebody hacked me, right? And then I said, maybe I should implement some backup mechanism. Then I implemented rclone. And you see where I'm going with this. So I would never suggest anyone to sit and implement all of this crap for no reason. So I didn't just sit and implement 24 different Docker services, right? It was a gradual process. As the need was coming, I would implement these things, right? And now I have a need, for example, for another service, basically some scheduling service to notify people to sign up, to notify them that they have notifications that they haven't read, and I'm going to implement that, right? So For sure, man. So, and again, always compare yourself to yourself a day before. Don't compare yourself to others. You can get inspired by others. You can get motivated, right? But don't compare yourself, because you never know the context, right? You might think that somebody is, oh, this girl or this guy is smart, but it's never as it seems, right? There's so much behind it that you don't see, right? And yeah, as you can see now, for example, we have this full-fledged UI library that I built as well. You know, we all build this in a stream day by day, right? I didn't build this. I didn't sit and build all of this crap in one day. This happened, you know, over a period of a year, right? I would build one component, another component, third component, fifth. This is the team builder, the one that you see in production, right? Exactly, Matt. And, you know, very small steps. You know, I only have the time for this project in the stream. You know, I have a full-time job like most of you, a wife and a kid and all of that stuff, right? So it's a big good evening, buddy. And now we are at the tip-tap in open sourcing this. Super happy with this progress, super happy. Did I actually push? I was doing something. I have no idea where I am right now, because I was doing this crap and then we switched subject. Image upload. Oh yeah, I was actually doing that crap, right? Weren't I? Yeah. That's true, right? I guess that's what it was complaining about, right? Yeah. Okay. Matty, my friend, how is work, man? You and I haven't spoken in so long, man, and you've been here with me for 1.5 years, dude. How is life? Let me just push this stuff. Need to amend that, right? Oh man, I'm very sorry to hear that, dude. Shit. I'm sorry, dude. Must be tough. We also want another child and stuff, so we are kind of in a process of working on that type of stuff as well. I know that you don't know the context. Let me just move this thing here. I'm actually up for some questions. I know that you don't know the context, but does mixing database make sense? I have a headless device where I store events, tool only for the moderator, 3 4 hours per month. It creates them through a headless panel. I want to connect results tables for each. So just when it comes to databases, right? Let me tell you one thing about databases, right? I think I had a lot of time in my career to think about databases, right? This is how I think about databases, right? So for me, when I think about building any application, right, database for me is it's the core of everything else, right? If you fuck up, if you mess up this, everything will cascade to being messed up, right? So what do I mean, right? Well, this is what I mean. So if you model your databases in a bad way, right? Your API that you build is gonna have to interface with that database, right? Interface with services, right? So your API is going to suck, right? Because it's going to be very difficult for you to get this data in a reasonable way. You're going to have to do hackish things. You're going to have to write crappy queries, which are inefficient, right? And then this results in a shitty UI, right? Shitty UI, right? So what is the question that one should ask when thinking about databases, right? Well, this is the question, right? When my API asks a database, hey DB, give me data, right? How painful is this, right? For example, you might be using Postgres or MongoDB, for example, or or Neo4j, right? Now, how shitty or great the answer to this question is basically gives it basically responds to the question of how well or bad your choices in the context of database were, right? Because instead of getting nerdy about databases, I think it's better to ask questions like this. When I query for my data, does that feel natural or it feels unnatural, right? So for example, maybe I have used MongoDB, which is a structured schemaless database, to build a social platform. That's a terrible choice, right? Because you need relations, you need these joins, you need, even Neo4j would have been a million times better than Mongo, right? And you will notice these things, right? So you will notice when you build something, you're hacking around your data because you chose either the wrong database or you modeled your tables in a terrible way. Both can be true also at the same time, right? You might choose a bad database for your problem and also model the data in a shitty way. And that's the disasters. That's the worst case of all, right? So going back to your question, right? Your question was, is it bad to mix databases, right? I mean, it's a very general question, but the answer is no, because you should be mixing databases, right? Because databases solve different problems, right? If you need really fast, unstructured data, for example, you can use things like MongoDB, right? I just need to get a document that might have or might not have these properties, right, in this collection. If you need relations, right, if you need like a user that has posts, and posts have comments, and comments have likes, and likes have authors, that's highly relational, right? You want to use Neo4j like a graph database or Postgres or MySQL, right, etc., right? Yeah, exactly. Well, I love Sequelize. I'm using Sequelize for Programmer Network, and I used Sequelize maybe a decade ago for the first time, because many people in the stream asked me, why did you use Sequelize over Prism.js or whatever? And the honest answer is, it's simply because I used Sequelize 10 years ago and I didn't even know that Prism.js exists. The experience is great. I mean, you want to use ORM if you have a lot of CRUD operations which are just very generic. Give me this, delete this, create this, whatever, right? And then of course you can use Sequelize.raw. Basically you can use the raw method to write your own plain SQL. And let me just maybe move you guys here, because I'm gonna round up anyway soon, but it's quite interesting subjects. Give me 1 second, because let me just do something like this. Okay, give me a second, let me just read a few more of these questions. Give me a second. But I think, I mean, the most fundamental thing that I would like to get abroad or to you guys is that when it comes to databases, right, when it comes to your data model of your application, it's the most fundamental thing, right? If you mess up your data model, your whole application is going to suffer, right? And this other question about how incorrect, there's no such thing as incorrect. I don't think that you're listening to me. There's no such thing as a hard-coded stack. I don't think that you're listening to what I'm saying. You're not going to use a database. There's no such thing, I'm using this database. That if you you know, there's 300 different databases and they serve different purposes, right? You get what I mean. MongoDB is great for something, Postgres is great at something, Cassandra is great at something, Redis is great at something. You know, you have time-based databases, you have memory-based databases, you have you know, big data type of databases like, you know, Snowflake and BigQuery and stuff like that. So there's so many, right? There's so many of these things that solve different problems that there's no such thing as a default database, right? They all solve different things, right? Well, I mean, like it or not, you know, WordPress is still used by billion-dollar companies, right? So we can talk whatever we want about PHP, but fundamentally, CNN, BBC, all of these things are running, TechCrunch magazine running on WordPress, right? So it's not that I agree or disagree with you, but the gaps cost something like Mern or not. I don't honestly know. Are there some free solutions out there still? Probably, right? But I don't use those. But yeah, it can be almost free. For $5 a month, you can host whatever you want. Yes. You can get a bare metal server or whatever, and you can host whatever you want for like $5 easily. All right, let's see if there's any interesting questions, and then I gotta go. I am all ear. So after what you said, I will do what I have to do now. The app will be used by 60 people, and then I will probably start migrating to normal database. I mean, exactly, Massa. I mean, don't stress too much, right? 60 users is such a low amount of traffic that almost any technical decision you make is the right decision, right? So I wouldn't worry about that at all. Would you recommend MUI, MUI? I mean, there's so many of these UI libraries out there, including the one that I built, right? So would I recommend them? Of course, depending what problem you're solving, right? If you want your product, if you don't care about uniqueness and the looks of your product and you just want to build something fast, you know, ship fast, fail fast, absolutely use it, right? There are certain things when it comes to UI libraries that there's certain timelines in your startup when you want to use them and when you don't want to use them, right? So like if you just want to build something quickly, of course use these. Do you prefer Redux toolkit over classical Redux? I do, yes. I prefer it because I really like the interfaces and the new API of Redux toolkit, for sure. It's a lot less manual, to say, right? what you said about scheming at the front, this happens to me yesterday, collections that were not in the relationship. And then, yeah, exactly, Masa. So again, if you do, if you model your databases or your data in an inefficient way, your whole application fundamentally is inefficient, right? Because you start hacking around these things, you start doing multiple calls and then merging things together, etc., 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 right? We have one main project using, yeah, I mean, again, it really depends. Like generally when you start a company, when you start something that you have limited funds for, you end up using some UI library that exists. But as the time goes, you get Series A, you get more funding, now you have the money to hire a designer. At this point in time, you want your product to look like your own brand. You no longer want to look like material design. You no longer want your product to look like Google, right? So that's why I'm saying these UI libraries have a lifespan of use, and then if you succeed as a company, you generally start moving away from that. You build your own components, your own looks, your own styles, because what happens in my experience is that a lot of people end up using these libraries, and then when the time comes for them to drop them, they don't drop them, but they try to style them according to these new requirements that they got. And then they start fighting these libraries. Then they start using important overriding, brute forcing and shit like that, right? So your team lead, your tech lead at one point in your product life cycle when this times happens has to say, okay guys, you know, we can no longer use library X because it no longer satisfies the new requirements. Let's now kind of build our own thing, right? What are your thoughts on Redux, when to use it, when it's context? I think Redux is great. I think, I mean, the thing is, I think the easiest way to answer this question, right, is to, so for example, the easiest way for me to tell you is that if you're not using Redux, for example, already, you probably don't need Redux, right? In fact, if you're not using any state machine yet, you probably don't need the state machine. So how does one know that you need something like Redux? Let's call it Redux, but it can be anything. So how does one know that you need a thing like that? Well, you might build an app, and this can, of course, happen due to two reasons. One reason is that the way that you composed your whole UI is really bad, number one, so you didn't think much about props, much about how you pass the data around. But then the two is basically you just need a lot of global data. You just have so many things across your application which have to be shared. But fundamentally, you have to allow yourself to get to that point by need, not by brute force of community, not by influence of others, but rather like if you need Redux, you will know by the requirements that are going to arise, right? I do not use Next.js, no. I don't have a preferred stack. I use whatever is easiest. I use React now because it's super easy. If there's something easier than React in a couple of years, I'm going to use that. I like easy things. And React is fundamentally incredibly dumb and incredibly simple, which makes it the most popular URL library right now. I don't use Next.js because I don't need it. I don't, the server-side rendering value that it offers isn't well enough of value for me to use it, right? Because that's what it is. Next.js is React, rendered in the server. Why not use Vue that's a very silly question. I'm not sure how to answer that. Why not use jQuery? Why not use anything? I'm not sure. What do you mean? Why would I use Vue? I don't think that file-based routing is a feature. I think that's a bug. I would not call file-based routing a feature. I think that idea is not the greatest idea. jQuery is amazing. I mean, I still use jQuery for some of the small consulting projects, where I just need a simple thing like to submit a form and stuff. Yeah. I mean, is it intuitive? If it is intuitive to you, who the hell am I to tell you otherwise? But I don't think it was ever a good idea to relate your routes to the folder structure. This coupling that it creates is not a good pattern in my opinion. Now, if you find it intuitive, well, more power to you, then I'm happy for you. But coupling the folder structure to routing, I don't think that's a good idea, no. Which one did you like most? Give me 1 second. Which one did you like most? I mean, I wrote Angular and Knockout.js and a lot of these things 10, 15 years ago, right? I don't know. I think React so far, these 10, 15 years is the easiest one of them all. I wrote Angular 1 when it came out. I wrote Ember.js, Knockout.js, a lot of these things. React seems the dumbest of them all to me, personally. But I don't really care. Angular.js is a framework. It's not a library. It comes with a whole opinionated thing, right? So if you like dependency injection, modules, if you like decorators, if you like all of this stuff, then Angular is for you, right? I don't like that stuff anymore. When I was a lot younger, I was praising these things. Now I don't like any of that. I just want a simple, dumb function that returns some HTML. But I mean, yeah, if a certain tool solves your problem, absolutely go for it. Next.js doesn't really solve anything for me relative to React, right? Have you experienced much with HTMX? Not at all. I spent 0 time with that. Also not very excited about that, because these tools are solving problems that don't exist. I don't actually know which problems are these things solving, right? Because the problems that they might be solving, I don't have, right? So that's my problem, right? And that's why these tools are not getting traction that they want, is because fundamentally for businesses, they're not solving problems. Server-side rendering, you know, was the internet 30 years ago. PHP, WordPress, all of these guys, right? So I don't know exactly why would I use this and which problems is it solving, right? That's my biggest problem, right? Because nobody yet told me why would I use it, right? We can experiment with that, Matty, maybe in one of the next streams, just for fun if people want. That's true, yes. So, of course, server-side rendered applications, that's what I said a couple of minutes ago. If you really care about SEO and you want to squeeze the most out of it, then yeah, serving static pages is, of course, still better than not, right? Google sees your rendered and okay, so this is, so the biggest problem is that a lot of you guys are saying things which are just you've heard somewhere. So Google is rendering all pages, including Ajax related pages. Google is rendering single page apps as well. I see that for years now, right? So don't say these things just because somebody else is saying them, right? So your single page application, if you do it properly, is almost, not as good, but almost as rendered, right? What would you tell yourself 18 years ago when you started working as a programmer? I'm talking to Twitch. I'm streaming on Twitch. What would you tell yourself 18 years ago? I would focus on value, right? I would try to be value-driven developer, product value and domain-driven developer, right? So sooner you realize that nobody gives a shit. I'm 35. So sooner you realize that no CTO, no CEO, no customer gives a crap about any of these things we're discussing, and sooner you focus on being valuable, right, to yourself and your organization, you're gonna progress in your career, you know, a lot faster than you think. So if you focus your strengths on actually being productive and being valuable to your organization in many ways, not just writing code, but deeply trying to understand customer problems, deeply try to provide products that customers want to use. These are the things that if you ever hear this concept, 10x developer, 5x developer, these concepts have nothing to do with writing code. These are typically people who integrate themselves and become so valuable with their ideas, with their critical thinking, with their obsession with product, right? So the greatest programmers out there are the programmers that care about the user, programmers that care about the product, programmers that care about the customer, right? So this is when you grow up, you realize this, right? And I wish that I knew that when I was a lot younger, because I was obsessed by libraries and frameworks and all of this useless crap that comes every 3 minutes, right? That HTMX or whatever shit, we're gonna talk about that for 2 months, and that's gonna be replaced by some other crap, right? But what's never gonna be replaced by something else is these things that I'm talking about. Being valuable, being driven by results, right? Because your UI library means shit if you don't build anything that makes sense. Absolutely, man. As I predicted in this stream a couple of days ago, software engineer as a role is going to probably be renamed to product engineer. I don't think that software engineer as a concept is necessarily going to be used much in 5 to 10 years, because programming skills are diminishing, have diminishing returns due to AI. So more and more as we move in this industry towards more and more as the AI gets better at automating these things, more and more your critical thinking skills, empathy, social skills, domain level knowledge of the industry where you're working, etc., is going to be important, right? Because sooner or later, the AI is going to get really good at automating a lot of these things, because come on, let's face it, most of our jobs can be automated. You build some shitty API, you click some button and write some text in some form and you send some data there, right? But your critical thinking skills, soft skills, product skills, that's hard to automate, right? So try to focus on the product. Try to build products. Try to get obsessed by the things you're building because of the user, not because of the library. Because nobody gives a crap about your library, right? Certainly, I mean, that's how it is, right? That's how it is for everybody. Don't worry about it. Just focus on the now, and that's just how it is for everybody. It gets easier and easier as you gain more experience, more references, more confidence, more knowledge, right? It's always hard when you start, right? Always has been, always will be. All right, let's see if there's any interesting remarks before I throw myself into sleep. Need to go to work in 8 hours. I need to send some of these stickers to some of you guys. I know that Play One Game was asking about it. I don't know if it's gonna zoom into it. Yeah, almost. Yeah, all right. Well, guys, thank you. I wish you well. Thank you for being here. I hope you learned something new. And Matty, I love you, dude. Thank you for being around. Rebecca, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to stream tomorrow, 9 p.m. Copenhagen time. So, yes, I wish you well. And let's catch up each other tomorrow again. My pleasure, Massa. My pleasure, man. Thank you for interacting with me, and it was fun for me. See you in 21 hours, indeed. All right, fellas. Take care, everybody. I wish you well. Bye-bye. Ciao.